Hello again. Time now for JN Interactive, and here she is.
Yes, here I am. And I noticed that you touched on Ebola briefly towards the end of today's big story. Well, we're going to continue the discussion here on JN Interactive.
Sure.
You know, the fear of Ebola.
The fear.
The fear of Ebola. Not even the reality of the virus on such a large scale, just the fear of Ebola is causing a lot of stigmatization in some parts of the world currently.
Okay.
So let me take it away.
Absolutely.
So today on JN Interactive, we discuss Ebola. A Ghanaian student last month in the Czech Republic was wrapped in a bin bag because of Ebola fears. Many thought that was the most degrading treatment that could happen. Now, some West African students were called Ebola and kicked around, and some Liberians in the United States have been forced to take unpaid leave because co-workers are scared of Ebola. Scaremongering is worsening the Ebola crisis. Where is the love in these times of Ebola? Well, I'm Ifo Akwa Harrison, and you are watching JN Interactive. I will be right back.
Joy News Interactive is brought to you in association with
Surfline. It's about time.
And Surfline proudly supports JN Interactive. Surfline, it's about time. You can join us via all our social media platforms. We are on facebook.com/Joy News on TV, on Twitter at Joy News on TV, or at JN Interactive GH. Send us an email. It's joynewsim@multitvworld.com, or you can send your messages through on WhatsApp. I'm ready to read your comments. It's 054-010-9009. Please remember to keep your language clean on all our social media platforms. Now, I will be touching base in Sierra Leone to find out how they are dealing with Ebola. But before that, let's quickly turn our attention to this story that has been making global waves. Now, last week, 2 Senegalese boys were called Ebola and assaulted at a school in the Bronx so badly they had to go to hospital. The boys had moved to New York 3 weeks ago to join their father, who's a cab driver and who has lived in the US for nearly 20 years. We have a short video clip. And it's not just them, Drame said at a press conference. All African children suffer this. The brothers' experience is an extreme example of the backlash felt by some Africans in the United States since the Ebola virus arrived from West Africa. Many others rather tell of facing subtler but no less hurtful forms of discrimination at work, in school, and as they commute, as fear of the little known but often deadly disease has spread among the public. And it goes on further to talk about 2 Liberians who live in Minnesota who have been told to leave work after sneezing and coughing. And it's even hit Rwandans, where in New Jersey 2 elementary school students from that country were kept out of school after other parents pressured school officials. So, you know, the fears, the stigmatization, really, it's real, and it's really bad, and it's really sad to think about. Anyway, let's move to Sierra Leone and discuss Ebola. Idris Pange is a journalist and joins me via Skype. Welcome to Joy News Interactive, Idris.
Thank you very much.
So what's the update on the Ebola situation in Sierra Leone? How are you guys doing?
Well, within the last few weeks, a lot has happened in Sierra Leone. We keep seeing more new cases. Yesterday, we have over 90 new cases reported. So the situation is not improving in a certain way, but also the late international response is also now coming in. We see there's a British naval ship that is just landing today with a lot of medical supplies. New centers have been built. But in terms of the virus, I think the numbers are still rising.
All right, Idris, how are you keeping safe?
Well, keeping safe is one thing that we try and respect, because there are things that you are not supposed to do. You're not supposed to go to certain areas. You try not to put yourself at risk all the time, because I know I'm a journalist. I go in there, but if I'm filming, I'm in my protective clothing. I wash my hands all the time. I don't get in close contact with people. I don't shake hands. I avoid a lot of body fluids, and just don't go to the danger zones. So this is how we keep safe.
All right. Thank you, Idris. Well, are you afraid of the Ebola situation? Let us know on facebook.com/Joy News on TV. We're also on Twitter at Joy News on TV or at JN Interactive GH. Or on WhatsApp is 054-010-9009. I will be right back with your comments. And you're still watching Joy News Interactive with me, Ifwakwa Harrison. We are talking the Ebola virus. Fear-mongering, that is what is happening now, especially in the United States. Now, I'm going on to Facebook, and let me read a couple of your comments. We've been asking whether you are still scared of Ebola and whether you think Ghana is ready to handle the situation in case of an outbreak. And Anwar Sadat Jr. says, I'm not so sure we are ready as a country, but I pray we do not record any case in the first place. And then Bernard Oral says, Ghana is not ready, but we just pray we do not record a case. Prosper Atichobui says, I'm not convinced that we are ready, as there are a lot of unauthorized routes into the country. Are all those routes sealed? If no, then we must pray God help us all. Beniza Kobina Anobel says, it will not come, but when it comes, we are ready to handle it. Ezekiel Botwawani, you say you are scared, but it shall not come to Ghana, though it has no respect for borders. God be with Ghana. And Emmanuel Obrempong says, I know God will help us fight it in case it gets here, but it won't even come inside Kweru. So I guess you are messaging from Kweru. And Magzi Mubarak says, if Ghana cannot handle cholera, it will not be fair to think we can manage Ebola as a nation, because our president's main priority is traveling, when almost every workers' union is on strike. So we have a video blog for you. Let's take our next video blog. Today there was an Ebola simulation exercise in Accra, and so those are the visuals that you are seeing in Temat rather. So those are the visuals you are seeing there. It's directing first response workers to how they should treat patients who might come to a health facility with symptoms of the disease. So yeah. That's it. And the reporter who actually went to cover this story joins me now, Matilda Wemega. Welcome.
Thank you.
So explain to us this simulation exercise. How was it handled?
This simulation exercise, I would say, a mock run test for the health workers to find out how prepared we are. If we are taking it from the country's preparedness, we look at it from the bigger picture. So far, what we've been told by the health experts is that every district and regional hospital has been made to set up a holding bay for any suspected case. And then within these holding bays, the country in itself has also been divided into 3 parts: the southern, the northern, and then the middle belt. The northern, which is Tamale, and then the middle, which is Kumasi, and then the southern, which is Tema. So today the simulation exercise focused on Tema to find out how this center is prepared should there be a possible outbreak. So health workers were brought together within this district to go through this process. And what we saw right now is a suspected patient who was brought in by a relative, and then the health workers were taken through how to mount the PPEs and also how to handle the patient.
Okay.
And going through the entire process from how the patient was brought in, handled throughout to even the burial. Yes, this exercise is to expose the loopholes within this, the preparations made so far. So going forward, health experts are saying that yes, they have identified some loopholes, and then they'll make sure to rectify it, and then this exercise would also be replicated throughout the country as well.
Now explain something for me, because in the video we can see that the health workers are already fully dressed.
Yes.
Does this mean that they got a call ahead of time to say we are bringing someone who seems to have Ebola?
Over the period, the education, as part of the education, we know some numbers are given out to the general public to call the hospitals to alert them if there should be any suspected case at home, office, or wherever you find yourself. So I'm sure this hospital in particular had already been called that, hey, this is what we are seeing, so we are bringing in this person.
Okay. But some of them, okay, so I said fully dressed. Just a few of them have full coverings, but the others just gloves. So they are sort of exposed.
Exposed, yes. These are the kind of things that they want the health workers to see, so that should there be a real case, then they know how to handle it. Yes, this was in the heat of the moment, everybody rushing in. You can even see that the relative who even brought the patient was still holding the patient, and then it was like, what is it doing? If it's the real case, then we might all have been infected by now. So these are the loopholes that this simulation exercise seeks to.
But those don't look like the required Ebola gears.
Yes, well. I think he didn't get the full visual, but we'll show the full detail during the news at 8. But what we are seeing now is just for those who receive them. But when we go to the holding bay, where this patient will be taken for further examination, that is where you see the health workers in their full regalia, and then going through the further checks on this patient.
Okay. But from what you've seen, especially for the first response health workers, do you think, or do you get the impression that Ghana is ready to handle any case of Ebola?
I would say that we are making a headway.
Okay.
Looking at the preparation so far, I would say that we are making the headway. If what health officials have told us is anything to go by, I think Ghana is making some efforts.
All right, thank you very much. Sure. Matilda Wemega is a journalist here at Joy News. Well, someone who definitely doesn't think that we are ready will be speaking to via Skype later on in the show. But let's go out on the streets to get your impressions on what you think about Ghana's preparedness in case of an outbreak of Ebola.
Ebola is a deadly disease, you know, and since it has come into our continent like this, everybody is afraid. You understand, because it's deadly, and everybody knows it's deadly.
People are still worried about Ebola because, you know, and there's campaign going on around almost every part of Africa, and especially Ghana here, you know. So I think people are really, really worried about Ebola here.
Everybody is worried. Ebola has become a household disease now. Even though we've not recorded a case in Ghana yet, but we are still worried because we know our borders are not safe. People still trooping in. Who knows? Even America has recorded Ebola, so Ghana would one day record one. But I mean, with prayers, and the rest we can. Yeah.
It's a very pathetic thing that we are all going through now, and as human and as alarming as the virus is now, it's so scary. Allowing other people to even just shake your hands is a big problem. Your own friends whom you've known for a long time, if you can't tell whether the person has or not. So it's quite alarming, and now everyone is afraid. We all have to protect ourselves against it. You don't know when one will have it, and then you don't know when you'll be contracting it. So I think it's a very serious issue that we all need to take a very critical look at.
Still worried about the Ebola. Why? Because it's like Ebola coming to let's say Ghana here. We are still worried about because you don't want to be affected with that kind of let's say disease. Yeah.
I think most Ghanaians are a bit worried, and I'm also thinking since measures have been put in place, there's no much fear, and we think everything is under control. So we're managing it as a country.
Well, more of your comments coming up after this.
Please leave.
And we are back. This is still JN Interactive. Let me quickly go onto Facebook and read a few of your comments. Remember to add your names and locations when you are sending messages through on WhatsApp. I think the American embassy is now going to use the Ebola issue to refuse visas. These people are going to take our money for visa application fee for free, and that's a nameless one. This one is talking about teachers going back to school. Okay. Ebola, please stay where you are and don't come to Ghana. We beg you in the name of God. We cannot guarantee. If we cannot manage cholera, how can we manage Ebola? So Ebola, please stay where you are. Every person, no matter his religious background, must pray in his own way for an Ebola-free Ghana. The virus is dangerous and we must not joke with it. This is Zion from WA. And let me see if I can read one more. Please tell the Americans to mind their own business. Who told them that Ebola is coming to Ghana? They are the very people who will bring Ebola into the country. This is a nameless one as well. So these are just a few of your comments coming through on WhatsApp. We have another video blog.
Before the coming of Ebola, we've always been treated that way, and now that there's this disease called Ebola, we cannot expect anything better than they are doing. They would always treat us like that, whether there is Ebola or not. I mean, that's what I think.
But when it comes to stigmatization, I think it's too extreme. We don't have to shun them because they have Ebola. We have to do everything in our power to cure them. The Americans are doing it. It means we can also do it. You understand? Just recently, I heard the 2 nurses that were infected were almost cured. So it means we can also do it in Africa here. With their help, we can cure this kind of disease. But as to the stigmatization, I think it's too extreme.
It's really, really serious, Recently I heard of Belgium, a guy who was, maltreated, who was put in a dustbin, and I think it was an eyesore, and it's not supposed to happen that way. You being a black man or you coming from West Africa doesn't mean you are attracted to Ebola, you understand?
So those are some of your comments on how you feel about the stigmatization issue going on in the United States right now. Anyway, let's see what's trending. Lord Korte, take it away.
We're still talking Ebola on what's trending today. Now,
I'll show you a video on YouTube by comedian Russell Howard, and he was comparing how two countries took in the news about the Ebola outbreak. As you're well aware, West African countries have been hit hardest by the epidemic, and as a result of that, there have been a high stigmatization and discrimination towards people coming from these parts of the continents, and that is really bad. But let's go back and watch the video.